Hey everyone, how's it going? This is Andrew, and welcome back to another video. Let me get rid of that. Okay, so um, this is not a Clip Studio Paint tutorial video. What I wanted to do is pretty much review my comic books for you guys. I've created 2 comic books using Clip Studio Paint, and I've put them up on ComicCentral.com. I'll leave a link in the description where you guys can get my books. I've recently changed the price to free, so it's going through a pending approval process. And so if you don't see them in my storefront, please check in periodically to see if they're there. They'll be free, and all you got to do is download them and you'll have them. So for this video, like I said, I wanted to review my books. So here's my first issue, Swarm Book of Fear. Swarm is a 4-issue miniseries. So the first book, Swarm Book of Fear, is issue 1. The second issue, Swarm Book of the Dead, which I've recently just finished, is the second issue. The third and fourth issue are planned for later. Swarm Book of the Beast and Swarm Book of Heroes will conclude the story. So Swarm basically is a story that was inspired by the video game Resident Evil. It's about these 2 high school students, Gabriel and Anaya, who show up to high school late, and they discover that their school has been infested with these zombie-like creatures. You can see one here. This is the first iteration that I did. You can kind of see that my art's kind of rough in the beginning. I was just getting back into drawing, and it was also my first time using digital, drawing digitally. So there's the zombie-like creature. They're not zombies in the sense that they eat flesh or that they infect you if they bite you. They're zombies in the sense they're more body snatchers. So this alien has crash landed near the high school, and the alien is hurt and the ship is damaged. So it's using human life force to sustain itself and to repair the ship. And so once it takes the human's life force, it converts them into these walking beehive creatures to go out and collect more people, kind of like drones. And so that's what's going on there. So here, Anaya's going to the principal's office to get a tardy slip, and here Gabriel's running from some zombies. Here they meet each other, and they kind of talk to each other about what's going on, and then they kind of notice that the cell phones signals have been there's something interfering with electronic communication, so no radio signals can come in or out. And also, Gabriel's wondering if there's more survivors, because here Gabriel's pretty much telling her, "Hey, I want to go look for my friend Jennifer," and then Anaya's pretty much saying, "Hey, we need to get out of here." So this is where they're gonna part ways. But before we do that, the story changes to a different part of the school, where this dead teacher is laying here on the floor, and this angel has appeared. So the angel has taken over the body of this teacher. Here are these 3 vampire agents, codename Red. She has the short red hair. Goldie, she has the blondish, the lighter hair with the locks. Is supposed to be blonde. And then there's Alice, who has the black hair. And they're named after Alice in Wonderland, Goldilocks, and Little Red Riding Hood. That's where they get their code names. And so she's using a blood communicator. So vampires can communicate telepathically, but within their own families. So if a vampire did not sire you, you cannot communicate telepathically with that vampire. Only vampires that have been sired by the same vampire can communicate with each other. So these 3 can communicate with each other, but they cannot communicate long distances. So, like the same with us needing hand radios to communicate long distances, vampires need these blood communicators to do the same thing so they can communicate long distances telepathically. Because, again, remember, no electronic equipment is working, so a regular standard radio will not work in this environment. And so that's what these blood communicators allow her to do. So she's calling back headquarters to find out what's going on because they heard a noise, like an electrical noise. But no, they're not. It wasn't on their end, so they're just ordered to continue looking for the alien. And here they're going through the kitchen, the cafeteria, and Red here has been thrown across the room. They're kind of surprised by this. They don't know anybody that can overpower a vampire, really, unless it's another supernatural creature. But they weren't expecting anybody. So here, the fangs come out and the eyes turn black, and there's kind of veins on the eyes there. And so as Red gets back on her feet, she unloads her pistol, and here, Alice is pretty much telling her, hey, calm down. And then the angel gets behind Goldie, and here they don't know he's an angel. They just think he's a regular guy. But as soon as he mentions that he knows that they're demons, so to an angel, any unholy creature, like vampires, werewolves, or whatever, zombies, they're demons. So... and that's just pretty much a generic term for unholy. So these he calls them demons, and that's when they realize, hey, this guy, he knows what we are. That's not good. So they start shooting at both Goldie and the angel, but the angel is too fast. Goldie gets hit, and so Alice helps her up, and as Alice is helping her up, the angel comes by, kicks Alice in the gut, and then grabs Goldie and throws Goldie towards Red. Then he makes it back to Alice and pins her to the wall. And he's questioning the vampires. Why have they placed a concealment spell over this such a large area? So this concealment spell. So the vampires have hired witches to put a concealment spell over the area so that no other supernatural entity or human can talk about the alien. They kind of want to keep all this under wraps. And so what ended up happening is this left a big blind spot on Earth, and it grabbed the attention of the angels. So they kind of did themselves a disservice by blanking such a large area of Earth. Again, the vampires have no idea that angels exist. These two creatures have not met in a very long time, almost towards the beginning of Genesis, because there's a whole backstory that I have with the fight between angels and vampires. But needless to say, this generation of vampires have no idea. It's been so long that since an angel has appeared on Earth, so this is a surprise to them. And so here, Red manages to sneak up behind the angel, and so the blood she's actually tasting or drinking is actually holy blood, since a angel is inside a body. So when a holy entity enters a vessel, the vessel then becomes holy, and so the blood then becomes holy. So she's pretty much drank holy blood, and so that's not good for her, but also not good for the angel, because now, since the vampire is an unholy creature, she has cursed the vessel, so the angel doesn't have long in the vessel. So the angel vamooses out of there, and then Red just happens to go up in flames because she's dying. And so now we change back to Gabriel and Anaya. So Anaya's heading back towards the parking lot where she parked, and she runs into her friend. You can see she's wearing a cheerleading outfit, just exactly like Anaya's. And so they're fellow classmates. So here Anaya's trying to get by her, by making small talk, but the zombie's not having it, so she has no other choice. But so she punches the zombie, her friend, and here you can see the bees exiting the zombie. So at this point, she's stationary; she can't move because it's the bees that are controlling the body. So in this next panel here, you can see the bees are coming back into the hive. So now the body can move again, and so that's what the zombie's doing. She's charging at Anaya. Anaya just steps to the side, and she makes it into her car, puts it in reverse, and then as she puts it in reverse, the zombie's there, slamming her hands on the hood of the car, and this is where she kind of like says, sorry, I gotta do this, and she floors it and runs over the zombie. So as she's trying to make her way out of the high school, she comes across this army blockade. So this wasn't there when she came in, but now they happen to be there, and they're also killing anybody who's trying to escape the area. So whether you're alive or a zombie, the military is ordered to shoot to kill. So, and she realizes this, so she's pretty much, she stops in her tracks right there. And so Gabriel, again, he's looking for his friend Jennifer. So he goes to his locker, gets a picture. That's a picture of him and Jennifer. And so I guess he's saving that for a memento. And he picks up a backpack from the ground for no reason, I guess. So he goes to Jennifer's first class and looking for clues. And as he's doing that, these 3 zombies show up behind her. And so that's the end of issue 1, Swarm Book of Fear. And so what are these monsters? Why are these vampires looking for the Foundress? The Foundress, of course, is the alien. And so this is to be continued in Swarm Book of the Dead. So Swarm Book of the Dead is, again, like I said, the second issue of the story Swarm. And so here's a little synopsis of what happened previously. And so as you can see, the artwork has improved a little bit. What I'm doing now is breaking panels. I think it gives it a more three-dimensional feel. It makes it look like they're coming at you, like they're popping out of a window or something. So, and the coloring and the detailing has improved a lot more. I took more time to put detail in the clothing, and also to color more shadows and stuff like that. So I'm still improving my art, and as I draw more and more, it gets, I think, in my opinion, it gets a little bit better and better. So here, so as we left off last, Gabriel was confronted by those 3 zombies. So here you see him flying over the desk, and he knocks over this samurai statue that happens to have a sword. And here's a double-page spread. Oh, this is something else that's new for me. This is my first double-page spread. So as he stabbed the zombie, it didn't really affect him, but as he pulls the sword out, he cuts him open, and you can kind of see inside some bone and muscle fibers, and then also the little beehives, the canals inside of the beehive. And all the bees are flying out. And so, like I said, the bees are what's controlling the bodies. So without the bees, the body's inactive. So this zombie is done for. When I first conceived this, I was like, I would show the inside, and I wanted to put a beehive, but then I thought to myself, wait a minute, what's holding this person up, and what's moving his arms and stuff? So I thought to myself, oh no, I have to add a skeletal structure and muscle fibers. So not all the muscle fibers have been removed, and not and the skeletal structure has to stay intact for the body to stand up. So those were some changes there. And so for as far as the other two zombies, you can see here he's shoving one away and cuts the head off the other one. And here he's running down the hallway, and he finally finds another room to hide in. And as he hides in the room, he hears whimpering. It turns out to be a teacher. So they have a conversation, and this is where Gabriel learns that the zombies have been kidnapping people. So the teacher tells Gabriel that, it started in the morning. Students were running and screaming, and they were taking them away. And so she decides, hey, let's if there are survivors, because Gabriel tells her that he's looking for Jennifer, and the teacher says, if there are survivors, they will be at the police station on campus. So there is a satellite police station at the school, so that there is some kind of security at the high school. And so this here. This little bee, if you didn't notice back here, when Gabriel entered the room, there's this little bee here, right here, where the bee kind of flies away. And that is right here. This little bee here flies away, and he finds a zombie, and he informs the zombie of where Gabriel's at. And then the bee comes out and informs this zombie, informs this one, and this one. So the bee can pass on just how the bee is controlling the people's movements. The bee also can pass on information. And so these 5 zombies are on their way over to where Gabriel's at. And so as the teacher was going for the door, to leave to go to the police station on campus, those 5 zombies were right there to greet her, and so she's pretty much done. They got her, and then this surprises Gabriel, and Gabriel jumps out the window, and he kind of looks back, and he kind of feels sorry, but that had to be. So Anaya's heading back. Remember, she came across that blockade, and it just so happens she runs into Gabriel. So now Gabriel and Anaya exchange stories of what's been happening. She's come across the blockade, and he came across the teacher where the zombies attacked them. And so now they're going to both head over to the police station on campus. So the scene changes to a boys' restroom. So inside the boys' restroom, the angel is kind of treating his wounds. So in the first issue, if you remember, he got bit by Red, the vampire. And so you can see here the body's cursed. So what he's doing here, he's blessing the water. And then here he's putting a seal around the curse so that he can survive a little bit longer on Earth in the body. And so before he goes investigates what those vampires were doing, he wants to see what these zombie creatures are all about. So as he's walking down the hallway, he finds one, and he kind of like uses his angelic power to cleanse the body, so all the bees are leaving the body. And so he's noticing that the body does not have a soul, and not only does it not have a soul, that his soul has not been recorded in heaven. So he's neither the soul is neither in the body or in heaven. So this is where he's kind of thinking to himself, something more than what the vampires are capable is going on. So he's checking the eyeball. You can see that because they say the eyes are the windows to the soul. So he's checking the windows to the soul. And so all the vampires I draw, or all the zombies I draw, have blank eyeballs because they have no souls. So the scene changes again to somewhere outside of the high school on a mobile military base. And so here's the mobile military unit here. And so this scientist, and here's the military colonel, and this gentleman down here smoking. He's kind of like a Men in Black kind of thing. Um, I took inspiration from, if you remember the TV show X Files, the smoking man. That's pretty much what he is. And so they're waiting on one other person to arrive. His name's Mr. Ips. Mr. Ips is the weapons manufacturer. So here he is. This is Mr. Ips. And he's a good friend of the colonels. They've worked before, a weapons manufacturer and a military colonel. Of course, they're going to work together. So they're good friends, and this is kind of my homage to Predator, when Arnold meets Carl Weathers on that one scene in Predator where he's like, what does he say? He's like, they got you pushing too many pencils or whatever. So that's my little homage there. So here, I took the opportunity as the colonel is introducing the Mr. Ips to the other two gentlemen. It's also a way for me to introduce you guys, the readers, to these characters. So the scientist, he's there to pretty much explain all the biological stuff about the alien, and the zombies. And then Mr. Medford here, he's the liaison to the Shadow Wind, which are the vampire unit. And then, of course, Mr. Ips is the weapons manufacturer who's come in to provide any kind of weaponry that they might need. And so here's where they're getting around this table. You can kind of see that I try to put it like a hologram or a holographic kind of table here. Like it makes holographic images, so and they're kind of explaining what's been going on. And then over here on this right side here, the scientist starts to explain what the zombies are, how most of most of the bones and muscle are still intact, but all the vital organs have been removed. So there's no vital organs. The vital organs have been replaced by these zombie hives. And the zombie beehives are actually connected to the nervous system. So that's what's controlling. So the human brain is still intact, but it's been taken over by the bees. And so here, Medford is here on this page down here. Medford gets a telepathic message from the vampires, and this is pretty much where they're explaining, hey, the vampires have come across a problem, which was the angel, and so he's being called away. So here Medford is making an excuse to get out of this meeting, and then so he gets out, and then the scientist goes on to explain how these what he calls zombies, he's categorized as zombies, ZOMBEES, zombies. They pretty much are collecting people, and also he's explaining how one bee can be transferred to another zombie, and the information is also transferred. And so here the general, or not the general, the colonel is asking Mr. Ips if he has anything that can help him eradicate these zombies, and sure enough, he does. And so he has this this prototype weapon here. They call him the Reaper. He's pretty much a cyborg, kind of like a Terminator kind of thing. And that's where the scene ends there. So we are back to Gabriel and Anaya. They finally made it to the satellite police station on campus, and they can see that it's empty. And so Gabriel is going to go look for a logbook. Hopefully a police officer left kept a logbook of what's been going on. Anaya heads towards the radio, try to communicate to somebody outside in the real world. And so what end up happening, Gabriel finds the logbook, and so he's reading the officer's logbook. And so instead of just putting a page of text, I decided to draw the little events. So here's the first event here, where a student was attacked in the parking lot, and then here is the another event where the teachers and staff are attacking the teachers, and then here these two individuals in the front are coming after the reader, also coming after the officer who is writing the log. So his last entry is something like I have to get out of here before they find me, and so that's these zombies here is coming after the readers, or the person who left the log. And so here Anaya is telling Gabriel that, hey, the radio's dead, it's not working. I mean, it's funny because she says the radio is working, but there's no signal coming in and out. And like I said, the cloaking that the vampires have hired the witches to do is what's interfering with the radio communication. So here Gabriel's like, hey, look, I found this logbook. It has a map. The officer puts some X's here, specifically this one X with a circle around it. That might be where the survivors are at, and so that's where they need to head next. So, but before they do that, Anaya happens to notice that there's something inside the spine of the book. It happens to be a key. Gabriel recognizes this key. It's two cannons crossing and a bursting bomb at the top. So he knows that this is an Apoc technology armory, armor safe to keep weapons in. So they open it, and sure enough, it's the police station's armory safe, where there's 2 shotguns and 2 Glocks with some ammunition. And so they take the weapons. Here, it's just the little hint of romance, I guess. Anaya's trying to load the shotgun, but she's having trouble. So Gabriel kind of helps her out, and they get kind of close, and he gets a little bashful. And then as they head out, they notice this military truck pulling into the school, and they're pulling what looks like a giant coffin out of the truck, and the coffin kind of has these legs with wheels on it, kind of like an ambulance stretcher. And so they're wheeling this giant coffin thing into the school, and this happens to be the Reaper. So this is Mr. Ip's weapon here, and so because they don't have radios, everything's matched on a timetable. So this soldier's checking his watch here, and he's seeing that they're right on schedule, which the colonel is also checking his watch, and that tells him that, hey, if they're on schedule, they should be deploying your weapon right about now. And so that's what they're doing right now. So as they enter the school, this soldier here says, hey, we got contact up front, and they give the order to fire. So they kill these 3 zombies. And then the scientist here, you can notice that the scientist, he has a oxygen tank where the soldiers only have filters. So the scientist here is putting in the codes to set up the coffin-like thing, and then he puts in the code here in the front panel to activate the Reaper. So he gave it about 1 minute. So it's counting down from 59 seconds to 0, and then the startup code is configuring here, compiling, and then finally the computer's like Reaper online, and it's to be continued in Swarm Book of the Beast. And so that is the conclusion of my 2 issues of Swarm. Hopefully you guys like the story, and like I said, if you want to get it for yourself, I'll leave a link in the description for the Comic Central storefront where you can download them. Again, if you don't see them in my storefront, check back later. Hopefully they'll have approved the change that I've made. Like I said, I've recently made them for free. So yeah, hopefully you guys will enjoy that. And man, I wish I'd have put my email inside the book, but oh well. I didn't think ahead that far. But you guys can always leave a comment on this video if you liked it or not. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys have any questions about Clip Studio Paint, like how to do anything in it, like how to work any of the tools, I've either already probably made a video on it, or I can make a video on it, or if it's simple enough, I can just explain it in the comment section. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I will see you guys in the next one.